Hello everybody, welcome to Hockenheim, welcome to the season finale of what has been an amazing 2025 competition of DTM racing. The sense of anticipation is already in the air and it's only Friday morning. We've got 2 free practice sessions to come today and then we go to war tomorrow with the first qualifying session of the day in the morning and then the first race of the weekend tomorrow afternoon. We do the same again on Sunday. And eventually, when we get through all of that, we'll know who is this year's champion. There are 9 candidates this year, 9 drivers within 29 points of one another, and there are still 56 championship points up for grabs. That is the man who is being chased down, and he's got a 7-point lead in the championship. Lucas Auer, runner-up in the 2022 championship, which was the last time we had this many drivers going for the title fight coming into the last weekend. We had 10 on that occasion, but the points differential was much bigger between those championship contenders than it is this year. It was 56 points then, now 29 points between the lot of them. So Lucas Auer with a 7-point lead. He's led really pretty much since the word go this season, the championship. He's lost a race for the title lead a couple of times on Saturday evenings, but every time we've walked away from a track, every time we've gone home on a Sunday night, it's been Lugie that has been the championship leader. If he can do it one more time this year, then he will be, for the first time in his career, the DTM champion. But that man is amongst the chasing pack, hot on his heels. Jordan Pepper, first full season of DTM, and he's been doing an amazing job. He's been a race winner. He's had a couple of pole positions this year, got his first victory at the Norris Ring the same time that he won, the same week that he won the Spa 24-hour race. And there is somebody you really don't want hot on your heels, René Rast, because he absolutely knows how to win a title and get the job done. He's looking for title number 4 in the DTM. He's third in the standings, 11 points behind Lucas Auer, and on a good run of form with 2 wins from the last 3 weekends, 1 at the Nürburgring and 1 at the Red Bull Ring. But the trouble is for these drivers, and it's been the case all year long, they are struggling because it's so competitive, because you have things like the changes to the BOP, you have the success ballast which changes from one race to the next. You really struggle to get 2 good days in a weekend, so you can be strong on a Saturday, not so strong on a Sunday, and vice versa. And it has completely blown this championship wide open. We haven't even had as many different race winners or as many different drivers on the podium as we've had in other seasons, or as many different drivers getting pole positions, but it's just been very equally shared out in terms of the championship points. Maro Engel is 4th in the championship. He's looking for his first title as well, and of course he and Lucas Auer won last year together the GT World's Challenge Europe Sprint Championship. This year they're fighting against each other for a title. Anjan Nguyen looking for his first title, 5th in the standings. He was the hero at the Sachsenring with a double race victory, became a history maker at the start of the season at Oschersleben with the first ever victory for a Turkish driver in the championship. And he's had more wins than anybody this season with 4, and he's, yes, 5th, but he's only 17 points adrift. Then you got Jack Aitken, all the disappointment of the Red Bull Ring. Looked like he could well move into a half-commanding championship lead, but it wasn't to be. He went off with a few corners to go from 2nd place on Saturday. A few laps into the race on Sunday, he unluckily picked up a puncture, and he walked away with just the point that he picked up for qualifying. No points from the races. So Jack down to 6th place, 21 points adrift. So too, 21 points adrift is Marco Wittmann, who was a driver that came storming up the order at this equivalent event in that 2022 season. He only had a very slim chance of winning the championship coming into the weekend. He had a brilliant weekend and got a win and a 3rd. So he could be one to watch, looking to get his 3rd championship title, but he too had a mixed weekend at the Red Bull Ring, got himself a 2nd place finish, but he was very disappointed with that because he had to settle for 2nd, having started from pole. And it was this man, René Rast, that took the win, his teammate. You got Thomas Preining 8th of the championship, 25 points behind. He's had mixed emotions at Hockenheim 2022, involved in that huge crash we had on the Saturday coming into the Motordrome arena, and it ruined his weekend. He got out for the entire weekend, didn't get a single point, but then he came back the following year and blitzed it, got pole positions in both qualifying sessions, got both race wins, won his first championship title here, Thomas Preining, and then Jules Gounon in his first full season of the championship at the track where he made his debut 12 months ago and immediately was quick, got a 6th place finish. Jules Gounon still in the championship fight. We've work to do, but 29 points adrift, and it's all very achievable. So that is the scenario in terms of the Drivers' Championship. We haven't even talked about the other championships yet. The rookies, the manufacturers, the teams, all still to play for, but it's going to be a phenomenal weekend. We've got dry conditions here at the moment. I look out the commentary box window. It's a bit brighter than it was when we arrived. The weather forecast keeps changing. Of course it does. Nothing's ever predictable in DTM. So a few days ago, it looked like it was definitely going to be a largely wet weekend, but the forecast has improved. There might be some rain tomorrow, there might not. There might be on Sunday afternoon, there might not. When we arrived here this morning, it was pretty dark and overcast, but it has brightened up. It's going to be a dry first free practice session, and these drivers need all the time in the car they can get to set up for what is going to be a huge weekend of DTM. Thanks very much for joining us then here for the first free practice session. Hopefully that sets the scene nicely for you. My name's Chris Hartley, and to help me try somehow to get through all of this without having a heart attack this weekend, Brian Oliver.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everybody around the world, as we get ready for this final round of the season. I'm both excited and nervous. I don't think I've been this nervous about the season closer in many, many years. It really is all to play for, and everybody just so excited about what is to come. When we came into the paddock this morning, lots of people just wondering what lies ahead on this weekend. Of course, the hard work starts now, the first of 2 free practice sessions. I can't actually remember an event this year where it's been quite this cold for the first free practice session. It is just 9.5 degrees centigrade. In fact, it's just gone up about half a degree since I last looked at the temperature. Track temperature is just 12.5 degrees centigrade. When we were testing here a couple of weeks ago, it was pouring with rain. So a lot of these drivers haven't had a lot of time running in this temperature, in these conditions, anytime recently. So quite important, these 2 free practice sessions. Of course, the final 2 free practice sessions of the year before we get set for qualifying tomorrow morning.
Well, we just got a shot of the Land Motorsport. That's a bit wide there for Fabio Scherer going wide. Yeah, it was kicking up the dust, as we saw from the onboard there. But okay, let's get some team radio from René Rast.
And approaching 13.
Yeah, loud and clear.
So radio is working all around track. Bring the tires in nicely.
It's René Rast just checking the range of the radio, making sure it's working everywhere. So talking about that through turn 13. René Rast then looking for his 4th title. He's had this sticker on the side of his car all the way through the season, which says Mission 4, the mission to become a 4-time champion in the DTM. Yeah, we got a shot of the Audi, the Land Motorsport Audi of Riccardo Fella leaving the pits, having had its tyres changed or checked. And that, of course, was the star car of the last round at the Red Bull Ring on Sunday. Riccardo Fella getting not his first victory, his 3rd in the championship, in fact, but the first ever for Land Motorsport in the championship title. They've won some great events over the years, GT Masters champions alongside with Riccardo Fella back in 2021 with that very car, and they've also been successful on the podium at the Daytona 24 Hours, competed at Spa 24 Hours, various VLN victories for Land Motorsport as well. But it's their first season in DTM, and they got their first win as a team. An excellent performance by Wolfgang Land's team, himself a former racer, former 2-time Porsche Carrera Cup Germany champion, and some Christian who runs the team now manages the team. And one slightly sad thing about this weekend, Brian, is that it sounds like it's going to be the last time that we see that car in competition in the DTM, because Land are making noises that they'd very much like to come back next year, but are teasing that it definitely won't be with an Audi if they do come back to DTM.
Yes, I mean, the good news is Wolfgang Land, a legendary driver himself, has made it clear he wants to stay in the DTM, and of course he has a history with Porsche. He's a former Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany champion. It was just Porsche Carrera Cup Germany back in those days. Back in 93 and 97. He raced against Olaf Manthey back then. So he has a long association with Porsche, so a lot of speculation that Land might well be back with a Porsche next year, but it certainly looks as though the Audi, which is many years old now, the old R8, no longer manufactured, and it looks as though this may well be the last time we see it in a DTM.
Yeah, it's basically the oldest of the GT cars that we've got out there. Still capable of winning those, we saw in the hands of Riccardo fella, and of course Riccardo is actually a contracted Porsche driver.
Yeah.
He's meant to be racing a Porsche this season in the DTM. The team unfortunately fell through, and hence joining up with his old team Land and coming in with the Audi. But he'd be the obvious choice, wouldn't he, to come back with the team, given these connections now with Porsche.
Yes, and he's now knows the DTM very well as well, and of course a race winner this year once again. So we would love to see another Porsche on the grid. We'd definitely love to see Land and Riccardo Fella on the grid. So lots to discuss over the winter. It's certainly not a done deal. A lot of work to be done in raising budgets, as we see Fabio Scherer, he's on team radio.
It's broken already. A P1 broken, just been.
Okay, can you bring back the car? Question mark, can you bring back the car?
Something broken, didn't he say? I didn't quite catch what it was, but it looks like steering, or is it a puncture?
Front left puncture, looks like, doesn't it? Or certainly suspension issue. That front left does not look right. We saw him going off the road. I think that was on the exit to the Parabolica from one of the onboard cameras where he's just in front. So it might be that he's picked up something with his excursion off road, or because it might be that he had a problem with the tyre in the first place, which is what sent him off the road. So we'll perhaps find out more about that, but it could well be that that was the reason he went wide in the first place. So not a good start to the weekend for Fabio, who looked good, didn't he, in terms of pace. That Mustang was flying at the Red Bull Ring, but he had zero luck, and just as he got into early in the race, a podium position, the car failed on him, unfortunately, but looking very strong. HRT have done a great job with that Ford Mustang. Arjun Maini has had several top 6 finishes, and see the rear wing there shaking around, rattling around, and I think it might be more than a puncture, unless it's completely on the rim now, but that is really rattling him around, isn't it?
I think he's got a broken track rod or something.
Suspension based, isn't it?
Yeah, you were saying about that. We were talking to Arjun last night, weren't we? And he was saying that HRT are really pleased with the progress they've made with that Mustang. Of course, HRT were running Mercedes AMGs until this year, and then the Mustang debut in DTM. And I think they have been really happy with the success. I mean, one of their cars is leading the way. Got one hand on the trophy in the GT Masters Championship, of course, identical cars. And they've made really good progress with that. And I don't think I've ever seen Arjun as happy as I have this year.
Yeah, it's front left, absolutely is the problem. Let's see the German Airlines branding on the side of the car. Fabio Scherer and several DTM drivers in quite a unique publicity launch with the German airline this week, because it's got branding on one of their planes now, one of their commercial planes that you would be able to fly on potentially, with DTM branding and the Fabio Scherer branding on the car as well. So that was really interesting. Uli Fritz, the team boss at HRT, went up in a flight. It went low over the Nürburgring, and Thomas Voss, I think, was also involved, and himself apparently is a keen pilot. So hopefully they'll get that sorted, because Fabio has not had a great deal of luck so far this year.
Small pace update. P1 is Guven, 38.4. We are P7. Best mark by 1/10. Main time loss would be sector 3 by half a tenth to hour.
I'd like to give a little shout out to an old friend of ours. His name is Track Limits, and our timing screen. He's not the driver's friends either. Our timing screen. Well, we need a wide screen on its side. We've only been going for 13 minutes. It was 21 when I counted last, and we're up to 23 track limit warnings. All of them at turn 1. But this, well, free practice is the time when you find the limits, and if you're ever going to exceed track limits, then in free practice is the time.
This corner here.
That one there, absolutely, and I think you'll
that might be another one.
Right in the curves. But of course, in qualifying, or indeed in the race, as we hear, let's come back to that, is Mirko Bortolotti.
So we box this lap, we go into the box, and then we check tire pressures, okay?
Last sector, and I managed to have a clean one. I finished the lap.
Copy.
So yes, in qualifying or in the race, track limits could have a significant part to play in the outcome. It would be a real shame if the championship were to turn as a result of track limits, but if you exceed track limits in qualia, just looking out the window, see Arjun Maini going slowly. I think he was just trying to find some space. But if you exceed track limits in quali, you may well lose the lap, but you will almost certainly lose the lap. And if you exceed track limits in the race, you might pick up a penalty. So one to keep an eye on, and certainly a lot of them at the moment. We're up to about 23, 24, I think, warnings now in the first 14 minutes of this session. And we've got to see dust rising up into the air. Have we got somebody just see gravel dust? Yes, we have. It's Jordan Pepper. Yes. Who's had a moment on turn 12 and is into the gravel. I just saw plumes of dust rising into the air. Yeah. This is not how he wanted to start his weekend.
Yeah, we can just see from the commentary box the dust, and we can see Marshall's running, but you can't see the car because it's right up against the wall. So we're in an elevated position in the commentary box above the top of the grandstand. We go full course yellow, and so that is coming into the Motordrome arena, coming out of turn 12. It's a very quick corner, and looks like a Lamborghini is up against the barrier.
Guys, I mean, my throttle fully stuck open. I
wow.
tried 3-4 times to get my foot down in the middle, but
that's
had nothing
scary.
to do with that.
Throttle stuck open.
Yeah, that's not good, is it? That's scary, that is.
Not an ideal start, as you said, to the weekend for Lucas Auer's main championship contender. Jordan Pepper second in the points. And a replay here in the background. Just you see Jordan coming through, just understeers off because he can't slow the car down, and yet side on impact with the barrier, and it's so low down that you can't see it still from the commentary box. The telehandler we can see now has arrived.
Get us a big sign on board. Yeah, it looks like he tries to get it side on. He can see that the throttle is stuck, and I think it's really sensible driving here. He gets into the gravel and he tries to get side on to the barrier to try and scrub the speed off. I think that's brilliant driving from Jordan Pepper, actually.
Might not be too bad, that, hopefully, damage-wise, but it's all time lost, isn't it? Time that you need. And so we had last week, Monday and Thursday, there were two private tests here with other cars around at the same time. Both of them were affected by the rain. So one of the days, the Monday was completely wet, the Thursday was part wet and then dried out and then got wet again later on. But Grasser was one of the teams that wasn't able to get out in one of the tests because they also were competing in the GT World Challenge, and they used the same crew in GT World Challenge of people that they do in DTM, so they couldn't get from one event to the other. Jordan is absolutely fine, very sprightly look. He's running back as quickly as he can to get to back to the Grasser Racing Team base. So shows the fitness of the driver, doesn't he? He's been charging around here at 260 kilometres an hour, and he's now jogging at pace. So he's making his way around the penultimate corner at the moment. To see him from the commentary box at turn 17. So he's going to have to go all the way around the last two turns and get through the tunnel, go through the paddock that way.
Track limits.
It's going to be a long jog back, that, for Jordan, but hopefully they'll have enough time to get the car out maybe at the end of the session. It depends on the damage, depends how quickly they can get the car back. But the point is, with them having missed one of those tests, not everybody did the test, but they didn't do it, and when they were doing it, there was weather-affected conditions, and Jordan, of course, didn't race here last year in DTM. He has raced here at Hockenheim plenty of times, but they want as much time in the car as they can, so these free practice sessions are super important. Ben Green, we were talking to yesterday, he was saying as much. He said, I've never raced DTM here at Hockenheim, so I want as much time in the car as I can. And actually, it's been a bit of an issue for him this year, he was saying, because there's been lots of red flags in free practice sessions which have caused them to lose time. This isn't a red flag, it's a full course yellow, but effectively you're still losing the time to set pace on track. So yeah, very difficult that. Jordan's now trying to get a lift back, isn't he?
Yes, having a word.
Sensibly.
have a word. Yes, and it looks like he might have got a lift back there. Up until he made contact with the fence, he was third fastest. So we had Mirko Bortolotti, the this year's champion, last year's champion, the only driver into the 37s, 137.984. But Jordan Pepper was in third place with Timo Glock between them. So he was up there at the start, although clearly there's a lot more time to come out of the circuit and out of the cars. But as you say, the clock keeps ticking during a full course yellow. So getting that car back, getting it sorted and getting it back out on track again feels like maybe a bit of a stretch during this session, feeling that he might not be back out during this free practice.
Thought we'd gone on board on the telehandler then. I thought that director's really excelled himself here. Then I realised it was on the back of the Lamborghini, which is hoisted up in the air. So you can see the grazing along the left side of the car, which made impact with the barrier there. Doesn't look too bad, but doesn't mean that there won't be any significant damage. It's a quick corner, this. 125 kilometres an hour. But you're right, he did the best thing he possibly could there in hitting it side on. And at least it's a tyre barrier rather than a wall or an Armco barrier. It was still a fair impact though, wasn't it? You can see from the jolt that he got inside the car when the contact was made. Get it from another angle here on the onboard.
That's a horrible feeling when you know you've got that gap between leaving the track and arriving in the fence. He knew exactly what was coming and you were just holding on for dear life, trying to get the car side on. And I think he probably got that one dispatched with the minimal amount of damage. That was just really good. To be able to think that clearly when you're heading towards the fence is truly remarkable.
Do you remember where he had that puncture it was on the Friday, wasn't it, at Zandvoort? At really high speed over the back of the circuit, over the crest. And yes, he went off, but he did well to rescue it and save it as much as he did. His reactions absolutely lightning once again. Lucas Auer then, the championship leader. We had a quick chat with Luigi yesterday. It doesn't matter what the championship situation is, how close it is, whether 1 point behind him, 2 points behind him, 7 points behind him, whether he's behind or not. The guy's always looking super relaxed, super chilled. He's always smiley, he's always friendly, he always greets you when you walk past him. And if anybody out there is capable of dealing with the pressure of having 8 superb DTM drivers chasing them down, it's that man, Lucas Auer, I reckon.
We chatted to Kelvin van Linden last week, didn't we? And we were talking about the pressure, and he was saying how much pressure is on at Hockenheim for the final weekend of the season. And yes, it's driving skill, yes, it's the speed, the setup, but actually managing the mental pressure. As we look at the car, that's not the onboard that Jordan was hoping for, but managing the pressure on this weekend is a massive part of it, isn't it? Not allowing the occasion and the gravity of it to get to you.
Yeah, we had a quick chat with him in the garage in passing. But I said, look, we'll leave you alone because I'm very conscious of the fact that all of these title contenders, they're going to have all sorts of media duties to deal with. They're already doing it yesterday in various photo shoots and video shoots. They're going to have questions thrown at them every time they come across a journalist. So they have to deal with all that as well. And Jordan Pepper has said one of the things that Kelvin has said to him, they used to live together, they grew up together, friends together since their karting days, was what you've got to do in this title fight weekend is try and block everything else out as much as you can and just focus on your job, focus on what you're doing, try and kind of block out all of the noise, which I think is good advice. And Luigi said to us, I said to Luigi yesterday, you're going to have a lot of this, aren't you? You're going to have people trying to want to speak to you all the time. He said, yeah, but the team are trying to protect me from that a little bit as well, which is eminently sensible, I think. Right, so no longer full course yellow. We are minus Jordan Pepper's car, which is still up on the telehandler. I can see over on the exit to turn 12. So you might be right. It might be. It's going to take a while to get it back to the paddock. It might not be able to get it back out at the end of this session, sadly.
Well, they're going to want to work out why the throttle was sticking before it goes back on track for sure. So that's going to take some time as well, isn't it?
You talked about those track limits at turn 1, the Nord curve. That's a quick old corner. It is taken at 180 kilometres an hour in 4th gear. The track limits, obviously the white lines that you see there to the right, to the left of the picture, they define the edge of the circuit. If you go wheels over them, you're said to be exceeding the track limits, and either like a racing driver would, trying to straight line a corner and make it as quick as possible through the corner, or get the power down earlier than you should and let the car drift out off the track. And that's what happens at turn 1. They keep the power down and they drift off. Now you can go on the curbs there, that's fine. There's the white line, then there's the curbs. Go on the curbs, fine. But if you go over the curbs, the other edge of the curb, with your wheels, then that's exceeding track limits, and that's what a lot of them have been doing so far. But it's always been the case here, ever since track limits became a thing, that turn one was that thing. So Maro Engel, for the second year running in the title fight, he was one of the 3 drivers going for the championship last year. One of the most experienced drivers around there. As I said, he won the GT World Challenge Championship last year. He's been a multiple World Cup winner in the Macau GT races. So he's another one that will soak the pressure up here, be able to deal with all of this as well. It's going to come down to finite details, this. The fastest at the moment is somebody that, of course, won his championship title at this venue last year with a superb weekend. He actually won it in the qualifying session on the Sunday morning. Mirko Bortolotti, 1:37.984 seconds. He's the quickest at the moment. It's hard to give you a sort of benchmark time because last year both free practice sessions were wet. Free practice 1 in particular, the best time in free practice 1 last year was Anjan Nguyen, the 1:48.7. It got less wet for free practice 2, dried out towards the end, and it was a 1:38.1. Mirko Bortolotti, quickest in free practice 2 last year. The qualifying times around here, the Q2 time in the dry, even Q1 was wet last year. It was a 1:36.7 set by Mirko Bortolotti, that mega lap that he put in last year to claim the points, to claim the championship title. So the qualifying lap record is actually held by Lucas Auer from 2022, which is a 1:36.479. So still 1.5 seconds away from that. But of course, they are not necessarily setting the cars up for having a light fuel load, going for a 1-lap pace. In terms of tyres, you get 2 sets of previously nominated or used tyres to use in free practice from another event. You get only one set of new Pirelli DHG slick tyres to use, and use them across the free practice sessions. Usually the drivers will save it for one of the sessions, and then you give that set back, and then tomorrow, this is one of the tracks where you get 4 sets of new slick tyres. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4, depends on the circuit. But for Saturday and Sunday, they'll have 4 sets of new slick tyres to last 2 qualifying sessions and 2 racing sessions, and that is if it's dry for all of the sessions, which may or may not be the case. We'll wait and see. But for now, Mirko the quickest, 0.373 seconds quicker than Timo Glock, who is second. Jack Aitken definitely exceeds track limits all the way through turn 1. Squeal of tyres as he got on the ragged edge in his Ferrari.
What is wrong? Brake is very, very strange. Something is wrong with the brake, a lot of vibration.
Brasser are going to have a busy lunchtime, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So one car with the throttle sticking open, one car with the brakes that feel spongy. Luca Engstler, race winner here in that season finale in 2024 on the Sunday. Hasn't got a podium yet this year, Luca Engstler, which is a surprise, isn't it? Because his trajectory since he came into the DTM a few years ago has been on the upward curve every season, but he just hasn't really had the luck this year. He's had some good results, but quite often he's been in a position to fight for a podium, and then it's kind of the race has fallen away from him. As Ricardo Feller is on a mission. He's set the absolute best first sector. He's done a personal best through the second sector, which is the longer sector. So he's on a good run here. He's only 17th at the moment, but I think he's about to charge up the order. Ricardo then in the land. Audi makes his way through across the start-finish line and gets himself where? Up to second place with a 1:38.209.
Yeah, proving still that the Audi has a lot of life in it. Yes, going back to Luca Engstler, his last win in DTM was somewhat overshadowed because it was on the Sunday, the final race of the season last year. And of course, that was when Mirko Bortolotti was celebrating the championship win, although having had those points in quali that took him over the line. But the celebrations there a little bit overshadowed. But for Mirko Bortolotti, currently the quickest of anybody, still the only driver into the 37s, 1:37.984. What a shot in the arm it would be for him if he could get a podium or indeed even a win this weekend at Hockenheim, because it has not been the defence of his championship that he had hoped for. And for Abt as well, such a legendary team, they would just love it if they could get one or indeed two of their cars onto the podium this weekend.
Yeah, just that one podium this year with Nicky Tim at Zandvoort on the drying track, where he and Max Powell gambled to go on the dry tyre, which really did pay off in the end. Arjen Nguyen on board with him now. Now, I haven't talked yet about balance of performance and the changes to last year. Get your seat. It's not too many differences compared to last year. That's what we can compare it with, really. What was the BOP on the cars last year? I suppose the key difference is with the Lamborghinis. So like they had at the Red Bull Ring last time out, they've got this 49mm restrictor in, which is 2mm smaller than it was at the start of the season, 2mm smaller than it was in 2024. That means it lets less air into the engine, which means less power. And they reckon for every millimetre, it's a 0.2 of a second that you lose. So potentially 0.4 slower than it was last year. They have lightened the car a bit. The balance of performance ballast as Jules Gounon sends sparks flying coming out of the last corner. Yeah, third quickest, but a bit ragged there from Jules. The Lambo's 5 kilograms lighter than it was last year, but so it's compensated a little bit, but that's only worth about 0.5 of a second. That's a fancy old ride, wasn't it? Part of the thinking might be, certainly for Grasser, that the car has been working better, they reckon, with this new slick tyre that was brought in this year from Pirelli. So maybe that was why they've tweaked it. But that's kind of the biggest change. The Mercedes is, as Ricardo Feller goes, quickest. The Mercedes is 5 kilograms heavier than last year. And it's got two 34.5mm restrictors.
First and last sector, middle sector is okay. Only 1.5 tenths to purple.
So Miney only 17th at the moment, with potential to improve here. Personal best for the first sector, 0.2 down in the second sector on the absolute best second sector tyre. Yeah, the Mercedes has got restrictor which is 0.5 mm smaller than 2024, so it's a bit heavier, 5 kilograms, and it's got a bit less air coming in, 0.5 less, but its lambda value is better. So overall, similar, I would say. The BMWs have got slightly more turbo boost than they had last year, and that's throughout the whole rev range, because you can tweak it depending on low revs, mid revs, high revs, but throughout the whole range, they've got a bit more boost, but it's only slightly more. The Ferrari has got a bit more boost, 0.3 bar boost on low rev range, so it should have more grunt coming out of the slower corners, but it's got slightly less boost, only fractionally, between 0.01 and 0.05 bar less on the mid and the high range revs. So it's not, again, dissimilar to last year. The Porsche's the interesting one as we look at Arjen Nguyen coming into the pits. It's got two 41.5mm restrictors, which are 2mm larger than last year. So whereas the Lambo's got less air coming in through the car, breathing into the engine, the Porsche's got more, and therefore potentially more power, and it's not heavier than it was last year. It's the same weight as it was last year. So that could be interesting to see how the Porsches of two drivers still going for the title, Nguyen and Preining, get on. As Ricardo Feller is at it again. Absolute best through the first sector. He's going through the second sector at the moment. The target is 45.594. Wow. He's gone a 0.5 tenth quicker than that. So it's an absolute best through the second sector for him as well. That's the longest sector, as I said. And then sector 3 takes in basically the Motordrome Arena through turns 12, the right, and then the left at 13, the Jink left and right through 14 and 15, the double right at the end, which is going through now, turn 16, and then turn 17. You come out of there at 130 kilometres an hour. By the time he gets to the start-finish line, he's going to be over 250 kilometres an hour, and looking like he's going to set the best time of the session so far, which he does, only just by 70 thousandths of a second, but that is a new best lap of the session for Ricardo, 137.646, which puts him just over 3 tenths quicker than Mirko Bortolotti, and nearly 6 tenths quicker than Timo Glock, who's just improved before in the McLaren. He's up to 3rd place now. Nguyen 4th, but he's in the pits. Pepper out of the session 5th. 6th Nguyen in the pits. 7th Ben Green in the pits. Nicky Tim is 8th. Tom Callender, who got his best results so far in the DTM at the Red Bull Ring with an 11th place finish. He's 9th, going pretty well. And then 10th place, Thomas Preining.
I think Ricardo Feller is almost the only driver to have not picked up a track limit warning. Yeah. They just keep popping up. Every couple of seconds a new one appears. Luca Engstler's the latest one. But yes, good to see Timo Glock back up there again. So the 138.224. Track temperature is rising. We've risen about about half a degree since this session started, and actually there's a bit of sunshine poking through as well at the moment. So the track should arguably be getting quicker as we head around the Spitzkurve, the hairpin with Lucas Au. What a great bit of the circuit this is. We haven't mentioned that yet. They come flat out along the parabolica around turn 5, taken absolutely flat, and then the heavy braking into the hairpin turn 6, which is where we just saw Lucas Au coming round. It is the scene, it will be the scene of much controversy over the weekend. It's where overtaking manoeuvres are performed, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. And now Maro Engel also going around the hairpin. You can see such a sharp 180 turn.
Good lap last time round for Maro. He was 11th, he's now 4th, 138.255 seconds, and going quicker on this lap than he's gone previously as well. Personal best through the first sector. The first sector only takes 21 seconds. It goes from the start line through turn 1, the Nordkurve, through turns 2 and 3. Before you get to the parabolica, it's already ended. Then through turn 5, the parabolica, that big sweeping flat out left-hander, Spitzkurve hairpin at turn 6, and then that sequence of right, left, right through turns 7 to 11. That's sector 2. That's quite a long sector, takes about 45 seconds. And then in between them, about 30 seconds to get through the last sector, which takes in the run into turn 12, and then that last sequence of corners in front of these huge grandstands, which, when they're full, can hold up to 120,000 people at this circuit when it was redeveloped at the start of the century back in 2002. Engel goes through, goes a bit quicker still, up to 3rd now with a 138.157. There are other championships to consider, as well as the drivers. Obviously, most of the focus is on the Drivers' Championship, but we've got the Manufacturers' title being led, as it has been all season, by Mercedes. They've got a 41-point lead over Porsche. BMW are 3rd, 54 behind. Ferrari are 4th, 65 behind. They're the only 4 that can win it now. And there are 90 points still available. You don't get points in qualifying. It's the same point system as you get in the Drivers' Championships. 25 for a win, 20 for second, 16 for third, and so on in the races. And each manufacturer counts their highest placed 2 cars. But if there is a 3rd car from a manufacturer that is in the points, that's discounted. So if you were, just for argument's sake, you were in a Ferrari and you finished 4th, and there were 3 Mercedes in front of you, you get the points for 3rd because you discount that 3rd best placed car. That's the same for each case. So 41 points, 90 available, only 45 available after race 1. They are getting there, they're almost there. The Teams Championship, Manthey for Porsche are leading it, as René Rast is delayed and thinks, well, I've had enough of that. Max Powell, I'm going to get past you before we get to the pit lane. Overtakes on the way through, which you don't see too often. Get a replay on board with the 3-time champion now. And
impatient.
Yes. It was, I want to get on with this, says René. Come on, out of the way, he says. All right, there's a gap, I'll go through then. So he did, and slowed the car down before, crucially, got to the white line, which signalled the entrance to the pit lane, which is where you've got to hit the pit lane speed limit. And then, just to frustrate him even more, he got called into the technical check area. So Manthey lead the Teams Championship. They're only 16 points clear of Schubert, who you're looking at now, one of their drivers, René Rast, the BMW. Torsten Schubert's team won the Teams Championship last year. Manthey won it the year before, and those are the top 2 in the championship this year. But you've got Winward, who are 3rd, who rode Jogunon and Maro Engel. They're only 26 points adrift. And Emil Frey Racing are their best season so far in the championship. They're 4th, the Swiss team, 34 points adrift. And again, there's still 90 points up for grabs. Then, as we get a replay on board, so this is the Jordan Pepper incident again, the sticking throttle, heading into turn 12 at 165 kilometers an hour. You approach that. Just trying to scrub the speed off. He said on the team radio, I tried to get my foot underneath the throttle to pull it back up 3 or 4 times, but couldn't do it. His throttle jammed open, and that was what sent Jordan off the road. But he did well, as Brian said, to at least try and get a side-on impact with the barrier. But the driver 2nd in the championship, who was on a good lap, who had set, I mean, maybe he'd set the absolute best sector 2 because he couldn't get the car slowed down through the corners because the throttle was open. But he was looking good, and he's still actually only he's 7th quickest. But the car is finally back to the pit lane with 18 minutes to go. As Brian said, they've got to check it over before they try and send him back out. But hopefully, damage-wise, not too bad because he managed to get a side-on impact with the barrier. The Rookie Championship, 4 drivers can win that. Ben Durr and Maurice Skuring have been battling all season long We've had 5 rookie wins for Morris, 4 for Ben. Gilles Magnusso of late has been catching them up, the Aston Martin driver. He's got 3 wins now. And Tom Callender has had 1, that one being his best overall result, 11th, and a rookie win in race 2 at the Red Bull Ring last time out. So they're the 4 that can win it. Bender is only 7 points clear of Morris Skuring, so it's like the main Drivers' Championship, only 7 points between the top 2. Bit of a gap back to Gilles Magnus, who's 45 behind in 3rd, and Tom Callender 52 behind in 4th place. But there are still 70 points available because the rookies also score big points in qualifying. 10 points if you are effectively rookie class pole, then 9 points if you're the second best qualifier in rookies, and it goes down in 1 point increments, and then you get the points for the races, same points that you would get for the main Drivers' Championship. So if, for example, you're 7th in the race but you're the highest placed rookie, you get the points for 7th for the Drivers' Championship, but you get the points for the win for the Rookie Championship. The one title that has been decided is the Pit Stop Challenge, where the fastest 3 pit stops in each race are awarded 3, 2 and 1 points respectively. And Winwood Racing have wrapped that up with a points lead of 7 points now. They can't be caught, so Winwood are already the Pit Stop Challenge champions. They've had some absolutely amazing pit stops so far this year. Winwood have averaged, with their 2 drivers, Jules Gounon and Maro Engel, 7.2 seconds. Schubert have actually matched that as well. But the driver that's actually had the quickest pit stops overall as a single driver is Thomas Preining. His pit stops from Anti have averaged 6.9 seconds this year, which is amazing. And what part could the pit stops play, particularly on Sunday with 2 pit stops? Jules Gounon has had the fastest pit stop of the year so far, 5.652 seconds, extraordinary. Maro Engel also for Winwood for 5.873 seconds. They were both at the Norris Ring, and René Rast for Schubert had a 5.891 at the Red Bull Ring last time out. That could be a factor this weekend for sure, couldn't it, Brian?
Yes, we saw that. Well, we've seen it several times during the season, where the pit stops, particularly on the Sunday, where we have the 2 mandatory stops, they make all the difference. They can project a driver further up the field. While all that's been going on, and while Chris has been talking, you've seen that Lucas Auer has gone quickest at 1:37.536, and he's continued to stretch his legs with best of anybody in Sector 1 on the next lap, although Sector 2 was still quick, but it was some 4/10ths down on... No, it wasn't. It was a lot less than that. It was about 200ths down on his absolute best. So he's still pushing on. Lucas Auer is out across the line. He comes, flashing the lights.
Oh, lovely.
Cementing his position at the top, 1:37.470. So the championship leader, do you think he might be exploring how far over the curves he can get away with?
I think he's fully committed, like he always is, Lucas Auer. This year, he's been super consistent. He's wins largely coming at the first 2 rounds of the season. He did pick up a podium last time out at the Red Bull Ring, but he's just been consistently scoring points. He has been staying out of trouble as well, which has been crucial this year, as Ricardo Feller drifts wide there. And was that trying to stay out of the way a bit too much, or was that an issue? No, the car picks back up speed again now. But Lugi, don't make any bones about this. If he needs to fight and get stuck in, he is a proper fighter. And he's had some battle royals, hasn't he? Remember that battle that he had on Saturday last year for the win with Kelvin van der Linde. And Kelvin said to us last week when we spoke to him, that was one of the hardest races I've ever had, having him in my mirrors the whole way through, and he defend like crazy for the second half of the race. So Luki, if he needs to pull his roll his sleeves up and get stuck in, he absolutely will. The other confidence booster for Lugi Auer is this track. He's got a good record here. He's had 3 wins at this track, 1 in 2015, 1 in 2021 and 1 in 2022. He's had 2 second place finishes here, including 1 last year. He's had 3 pole positions here last year as well. And it would all come around full circle if Lugi were to get his first championship win here, because this is the track where he made his debut back in 2015.
Oh, wouldn't that be good? Of course, the nephew of the legendary Gerhard Berger, and I expect that Gerhard, of course, formerly very much involved in the DTM, maybe watching on and seeing how his nephew does. But yes, I mean, you look at Lucas Auer, and we talked about this earlier in the week. Sometimes you just have a season where it all comes together, and Lucas Auer this year has just had a season. I don't think anything particularly has changed. He's just gelling really well with Landgraf. He's gelling with the car, and it has been one of those seasons where it just seems to come together. And if he's not leading the points on the Saturday night, he normally is by the Sunday again. And just keeping it together, consistent point scoring. And it's funny, isn't it, how just some drivers just can't catch a break some years, and then in other years, it's just like you're on a different level.
Pit stops from the team have been very good as well. They practice 3 times a day, I'm told. They did that all the way pre-season as well. And he's averaged 7.6 seconds, which is in the zone. That's very good effort from Landgraf, who in their first season of DTM, which was 2 years ago, 2023, that was a bit of a weakness for them, and they recognised that and worked really hard on it. So you're right, it's all gelled, and he's in a happy place there at Landgraf. I think it's key for Lugi to kind of enjoy racing as well. You know, it's a job, yes. There's a lot at stake, yes, but you know, it's also a pretty cool career choice, isn't it? Certainly, you know, I think they'd prefer it than being stuck in an office working on spreadsheets all day.
Yes.
So Lugi wants to also enjoy it, and the team enjoy it, and there's a really good rapport there, and that makes him more comfortable, and that makes him more dangerous, I think, as well.
Yeah, it's back to the original topic of keeping it mental discipline, withholding the pressure, keeping it all together, and you know, that's what he's doing when he's calm and collected. I think when a driver is relaxed is when they're the most dangerous, because they're not putting the pressure on themselves. And we see in other disciplines of sport as well, so often in tennis or snooker or whatever, when the athlete is trying too hard and they overplay, or in the case of motorsport, overdrive. And when they're relaxed, it just comes to them. And I don't think I've walked past Lucas Auer many times this year. I don't think at any point he's not been smiling.
No, and even if it doesn't go his way, he sort of shrugs it off and goes, well, it wasn't my day today, it's fine, we'll come back next time. Still the only driver in the whole season that's been in the points in every single race, all 14 races of the 2025 season. Nicky Tim then pushing on to see what he can do to try and end the season on a high for Abt, his first season with Abt, as well as Mirko Bortolotti's, and their first season running this Lamborghini. It's, as we said, been a testing season at times. They have definitely made strides forward on Fridays in the last couple of events, Sachsenring and Red Bull Ring. It hasn't quite emerged when it needs to on a Saturday in qualifying, and it typically, Mirko's been about 0.7 of a second away from a pole position time on a Saturday, so they won't get too buoyed up by this, but I think it's definitely going in the right direction. You have to remember, it's their first season with the car. The thing with Abt as well is they only race really in this championship. Yes, they've done some Nürburgring 24-hour races, but that's with a different tyre. That's a different beast, a big endurance race. Whereas you get Grasser, who for a decade worked with the Lamborghini Huracan. They know every nook and cranny of it, and they also race it elsewhere. They race it in the GT World Challenge, whereas Abt only compete in the DTM predominantly. So it was always going to be a steep learning curve, even for a team as legendary and as experienced as them, with two great drivers. But it's just that we're used to seeing Abt, we're used to seeing Mirko in particular at the front of the field. But I guess if you take a step back and think about it logically, it was always going to be a difficult season. I think, you know, your heart would have said, well, it should be a great combination. This Lamborghini, that's successful. Mirko won in a Lamborghini the championship last year. Abt know how to win races and fight for titles, but it hasn't quite clicked. They're not a million miles away, are they?
No.
But you don't need to be a million miles away to be halfway down the grid in DTM.
No, it's all down to thousands, isn't it? And of course, they've switched from Audi to Lamborghini for DTM this year. And with the Temerario, the new Lamborghini, on the horizon, potentially being available next year. They're running the Huracan this year. We haven't had confirmation yet next year whether there will be enough Temerarios available, but if there are, and Lamborghini are keen to not have two different models competing against each other in the same race. So if the Temerario does arrive in the DTM, then it's going to be another kind of learning curve, maybe less steep, because the Temerario will be a lot more similar to the Huracan than to the Audi, but there'll still be a lot of learning to be done by Abt.
This could be positive news for Lucas Auer. His teammate Tom Callender is looking sharp. He's gone 6th quickest. So you know, if you need somebody to take points away from your championship rivals, then team orders are not allowed in DTM, but your teammate can certainly beat the other drivers that you're fighting for and take points away from them. And Tom looking good at the moment, 6th place. Luca Engster's brake issues look like they've been resolved. He's just gone up to 9th place. Max Powell has just improved up to 12th. Jack Aitken is about to charge up the order as well. 2 personal bests for Jack, a 21.3 through sector 1, a 45.7 through sector 2, but he's about 0.6 of a second down already on the best lap time of the session, so he's not going to charge right at the top of the order, but he should be somewhere around the top 10, I think, as Luke Rensler improves again, goes up to 6th place. Here is Jack, and what's it going to be? 8th, 138.088 for the Ferrari driver, 6th in the championship. A measure of the man that after the absolutely gut-wrenching weekend that he had at the Red Bull Ring, his next competitive weekend in IMSA, he goes to Indianapolis and wins the race. Brilliant.
Yeah, he was celebrating his 30th birthday as well. Happy birthday, Jack. So, yeah, what a way to bounce back from that, as his teammate now, Ben Green, goes quickest of anybody in Sector 1. So, Emil Frey Racing, the Ferraris are turning up the heat a little bit. So, Ben Green, quickest in Sector 1. I'd say Emil Frey tend to run a little bit under the radar in free practice sessions. And I was looking at Jack Aitken earlier, and he was loitering at the bottom, but he's right, okay, we've had enough of that. Now, time to set some times. Here is Ben Green now, as he heads in towards turn 8. The left-hander, and then in towards turn 9 he comes. So it's a really long sector, that first sector, isn't it? And well, the second sector is the longest of all the sectors, and then into sector 3 will come. So hasn't set the world on fire with sector 2, 45.869. And we were talking to him yesterday, and he was saying that there are just different parts of the circuit, and that first part of the circuit, the first sector, that really favours the Ferrari, isn't he?
Yeah, and the last sector, but the middle sector is a bit more about power and straight line speed, particularly that run through the Parabolica. So he said that's a bit weaker for us. He said conversely, the BMWs, for example, might not be so strong at the start and the end of the lap, but they'll be really quick in the middle of the lap. So it always makes for really interesting racing here at Hockenheim as Ben goes 11th quickest, because it feels like maybe the one circuit on the calendar where there are no strong favourites. It doesn't suit any one car more than another, because you've got a bit of a mix of everything here. It is Marco Wittmann then on the attack, looking for a 3rd title. Do not rule him out of this championship fight yet either, as Tommy Preining pushes it a bit too wide coming out of turn 13 and puts a couple of wheels on the grass. Tommy does do a personal best second sector, and his teammate Arjen Guwen has just gone up to 2nd place as well with a 137.5. Where is this going to put Tommy? He goes over the line. The Austrian, he's only 16th with a 138.452. René Rast and Marco Wittmann at the moment in the BMWs are way down the order, aren't they? They are, well, Marco is 21st and René is 20th, and there's a 10th of a second between them. Guwen's just done the absolute best first sector. You're on board though with Luigi Auer, who's done the absolute best middle sector, that key sector. He was about 4/10 down though in the first sector, so he'll need to claw a lot of time back to improve his own lap time, which he doesn't in the end, a 137.998. And he squeaks the tyres, the Pirellis, through turn 1 again.
We got good microphones in the turn 1. You can hear when they lock it up. So Arjen Guwen now into that lengthy second sector. He's done a personal best there, 45.596. So he's in 2nd at the moment. It was a 137.576 was his best previously. So about a 10th, a little over a 10th off the quickest by Lucas Auer, as we see Marco Wittmann coming out across the line. So it'll be really interesting to see what Arjen Guwen can do here now. He's in the final sector as we speak, looking to close in at 0.106 was the gap between himself and Lucas Auer. He comes across the line, getting closer, not quite close enough, so remains in P2, but a lot of pace from the Manthey EMA Porsche.
2 good laps though, back to back, so he'll be very happy with that. He is pushing on. Guwen has just got his best lap of the session in the Winward Mercedes to go up to 8th place. Now Tommy Priding is on a personal best lap, which puts him 3rd quickest. That's better, 137.6. So Porsche's looking strong, as I talked about that BOP, perhaps a bit more favourable than some for the other brands. Maurice Skeuring, but another Porsche in the top 5 as well. So the rookie, fighting for the rookie title, goes 5th quickest, 137.9. So you got Guin in 2nd, Priding in 3rd, and Skeuring up to 5th place. Now, Ilshul Gunon, who did his personal best lap last time around, started this lap well. Looks like it's a bit of a fight though, doesn't it? Again, coming out through the final corner at the Sudcurva at turn 70, having to really wrestle the car through there. And that lap not quite as quick as the one before, so he remains overall in 10th place because he's just dropped down now behind those 2 Porsches of Priding and Skeuring.
Every few seconds, a new track limit warning pops up on the screen, and it has been doing that through the whole session. I couldn't tell you how many track limit warnings there have been. There have been many, many. And at the moment, yes, it's okay, we're in free practice, but tomorrow, this could be really significant. Every couple of seconds, I see the screen blip, and there's another one that is there. So yeah, drivers really, I'm just wondering whether the race director might be having a word once this session is over, because there's an insane number of track limit warnings during this session. Yeah,
it's got to the point now where the judge of fact is just copying and pasting the words track limit warning T1 and then just changing the number of the car in front of it.
Ricardo Fallon managed one at turn 11, but apart from that, everybody's been turn 1.
Or it might be a typo. Just press 1.
Maybe a typo, yeah.
Press 1 twice. Priding goes to the top of the times as we say that with a 137.413. So the 2023 champion on a charge. There's one thing we all know about Thomas Priding: he never ever gives up. So he won't rule himself out of this. He's going to be fun to watch this weekend. There's a couple of drivers that are going to be fun to watch. The ones that are a bit further back, a bit further adrift in the championship fight, they've got to go for it on Saturday, haven't they?
Yes, and a few drivers have said to us, I am going for it. I think the Saturday race, if you're in the region of Hockenheim this weekend, I would highly recommend getting yourself down here. There's a big grandstand, so we can accommodate everybody. There's going to be a big crowd, but we know that certainly the drivers in the lower reaches of the top 9 are going to be giving it absolutely everything tomorrow. It could be very, very exciting.
Good effort for Mirko Bortolotti, the champion, with a 137.822, goes 5th quickest, and he's the best of the Lamborghinis, which will please him as well. The next best Lamborghini is Luca Engsler, who's 12th with a 138.0. So Mirko is 2/10 quicker than the best of the Grasser Lamborghini. So great effort for the outgoing champion as Thomas Priding, just understeers wide, coming into the left-hander, the Sachs-Curva, and through the gravelly will go. No real arm done, but that lap was looking good at that point because he was only half a tenth off the best first sector time. He had done the absolute best second sector, but he's now found the limit. He's just got to reel it back in a bit from there. But he was on another charge, so Priding looking good. Could have been even quicker than his previous lap.
Wow, there'll be a lot of gravel in the bottom of that car as well. See a little pile in the garage at lunchtime while they empty it all out. So I think he is done for that session as he peels off into the pit. So we've got 5 seconds remaining of this free practice 1. So anyone who is on a lap once the clock strikes 0, that will still count. So we'll continue that lap. There's nobody who is setting any purples at the moment, but on the previous lap, Mirko Bortolotti had done that personal best in sector 1. So Bortolotti still finding the pace in the Lamborghini, so he comes out of turn 17, out to cross the line. So coming into this lap, he was in 5th place. Is he going to improve on that? No, he's not. But a 137.748 is very reasonable.
Yeah, this is still his best lap of the session. Just shaved a few thousandths off, but remained in 5th place. Replay of this moment at the Sachs-Curva for Tommy Priding, carrying the speed through the right at turn 12, the Mobile 1 curve. On the brakes, you go down to 2nd gear at 90 kilometres an hour. It's pretty heavy on the brakes there. It's kind of a hairpin, and he just understeered wide through the gravel trap, but crucially kept it out of the barriers. But I think that lap probably was about to be even quicker. Team Radio.
Very good improvement. Purple sector 2, purple sector 3 the lap before.
Hey, thanks guys. We got some work to do though.
Oh, well, that's a bit worrying for everybody. We've got some work to do, but you're quickest, Tommy.
Yes.
So he reckons he can go quicker. Yeah, never satisfied, of course. So Tommy Priding, yeah, kind of almost needs a perfect weekend. Does anybody really that's in the second half of that group of championship contenders, sort of from 5th down, they kind of need a near perfect weekend, realistically, and for others not to go so well. He went completely calm with all that, didn't he?
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of Sebastian Vettel the last time Formula 1 raced here. Probably rather not be reminded of that on that corner. But it's a tricky corner, the Sachskurve, and you just saw the back end stepping out a little bit on the Porsche, and then he was a passenger.
So the first free practice session is done, not without its dramas. Predominantly that drama for Jordan Pepper, whose throttle stuck open and sent him early doors off the road. He only did 7 laps in that session. Most of them have done 20 or more laps in the session. Ben Durr is stuck at the end of the pit lane. So he now looks like he's got an issue in the McLaren. Driver fighting for the rookie and leading the rookie championship standings. Absolutely the most, in my books, improved driver of this season. Let's try and find out the problem.
With information, stay in the car. We will do the pit stop with Timo first, and then we will pick up.
Just sit tight. Wait there. We'll do our practice pit stop with Timo, which is something else they do in these free practice sessions. Then we'll come and get you. So worry there. We had soft brakes for Luca Engstler, but he went back out and improved afterwards in the Grasser Lamborghini. We had a broken suspension front left on the Mustang of Fabio Scherer. He didn't get back out at all, so he only did 3 laps in that session. So all sorts of dramas. And even for Thomas Priding going off the road right at the end of the session. But he tops the times for Manthey, who are gunning for the team's championship. Remember, a 137.413, only half a tenth up on the championship leader, Lucas Aerts. Another Austrian 1-2 look. Engine Nguyen looking sharp, 3rd, but only 62 thousandths of a second away from his teammate Thomas Priding. Ricardo Feller, good again all the way through that session in the Audi. He was 4th. Mirko Bortolotti, encouraging in 5th place, and a couple of really good laps there as well for the Italian. Maurice Skuring improved late on. He finished 6th. Thierry Vermeulen, double podium finisher at the Red Bull Ring, 7th. Timo Glock, 8th. Good lap for Timo. Jack Aitken, 9th. Maro Engel in 10th place. Only half a second between the lot of them. Jules Gounon, 11th. He had a couple of hairy moments coming out through the final turn. Luca Engstler, 12th when he went back out. Tom Callender looking pretty sharp in 13th. Max Powell had a good session, 14th. He was in the top 10 at one point. Ben Green, 15th. Gilles Magnus, 16th. Ben Durr, who's stuck at the end of the pit lane at the moment, ahead of Jordan Pepper, and René Rast back in 19th place. Nicky Tim 20th. Marco Wittmann back in 21st and over a second off the pace ahead of Nicola Bart. And then the 2 Mustangs struggling at the moment, Arjun Maini and of course Fabio Scherer, with barely any laps done in that session after his broken suspension, which I suspect is what sent him off the road in the first place. So mixed bag that, Brian, in the first free practice session. And apart from Lucas Aerts, it's a couple of the outsiders, Priding and Nguyen, who had a really good stint there.
Yes, it really does set us up rather nicely for tomorrow. Of course, we've got another free practice session to come yet, but this is kind of the first blood, and Thomas Priding, always strong around here, always a danger man, especially here. Of course, he took those back-to-back wins a couple of years ago here, so we know how strong he is. Lucas Aerts, championship leader up there, but Anh Chang Nguyen, once again, flying under the radar, up there in 3rd place. Well, he must fancy another win this season to add to the 4 that he has already. That would be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so Ben Durr being pushed back down to the pit lane. They've got a few hours now to try and get the car sorted. The second and final free practice session of the day starts at 3:30 p.m. Local time, just to give you the gist of where we are. Time-wise, it's just after midday here at Hockenheim, so we'll be on air 5 minutes before the session starts at 3:25. And remember, it's a slightly shorter session, that second free practice session, at 45 minutes. Tomorrow, qualifying 1 starts at 9:35 in the morning, and as always, the race starts at 1:30 in the afternoon. The sun now comes out here, and the temperature creeping up, just over 11 degrees. So conditions looking good today here at Hockenheim, which is exactly what they need. They could do without mixed weather on a Friday, that's for sure, with everything that is at stake here in this final weekend of the 2025 DTM season. So that is it from Brian Oliver and me, Chris Hartley, and we'll join you again later on for free practice 2. Thanks for watching.